Hi, hello, welcome. This is John, and thank you for tuning in to my channel, Taco Banana. So, today I want to talk about the new anti climate propaganda that just dropped, courtesy of the Heritage Foundation. So, I was listening to NPR and heard an interview between Steve Inskeep and an industry representative coming to talk about the new Heritage Foundation report. And I found it so interesting to be listening in real time how anti climate propaganda is changing over time. It's so interesting to see in real time how industry groups are trying to shape the discussion and provide talking points to different parties and public figures that are pro industry, pro fossil fuels, and basically don't care about the upcoming effects of climate change. And it's interesting to hear it here first because I think you'll be hearing these talking points being repeated in right wing media. So here's a bit of the interview that caught my attention.
You write of it, however, as a perceived threat that the left is overstating. What do you mean by that?
Well, it is overstated. A lot of the general rhetoric, it's more about capturing headlines or pulling from some of the most extreme analyses that are out there. A lot of the rhetoric that the public sees and experiences is based on a picture that's not consistent with what we've seen with observed climate data, and that the forecasts actually suggest a mild and manageable climate change in the future.
In our extended conversation, Gunasekara said she had consulted multiple climate scientists. But when we asked which scientists helped her conclude that climate change would be, quote, mild and manageable, she did not name them.
Basically, what I'm seeing is that the anti-climate, the anti-science arguments are shifting from climate change is not occurring to climate change is occurring, but it's going to be mild and manageable, is the term that was used. Another way that the speaker almost rephrased it as is that climate change in the coming decades will be more mild and manageable than stated by the left. So that's the main argument I want to highlight. Climate change is going to be more mild and manageable than the left predicts, and that the left is overstating it. So when the industry representative, Gunasekara, says that climate change will be more mild and manageable than the left is stating, she's presenting a statement of fact, at least what she is trying to pass off as fact. So let's evaluate this statement. Climate change will be more mild and manageable than the left is stating. To evaluate the truth of the statement, you will take what the left states and compare it to if it's mild or manageable. So it's interesting to see this line of argument because it is deliberately set up to be vague and so that the speaker can change definitions so that they're always in the right. So let's compare the two ideas. One is what the left states will be the effects of climate change, and two, that will be mild or manageable. Both of these definitions are vague and nebulous. Who is the left? Is it Joe Biden? Is it AOC? Is it George Bush? What is your definition? And what is the definition of mild and manageable? Mild and manageable for whom? For me? For you? We'll be fine. If you have access to broadband internet, a device, speak English, and connected to global society, chances are you're in the global 10%, let's call it. I'm just estimating here. What I'm getting at is that you're not among the world's most impoverished citizens. The people that will not find climate change mild or manageable are people that live off of $5 income a day, are people that do not have access to internet, or people that do not have access to smartphones. So what we can see is that on both sides of the statement, the left and mild and manageable are deliberately vague, do not define anything, and their definitions can be changed at a whim so that the speaker is always right. Because all they have to prove is that climate change will be less bad than some movable goalpost that can be defined at any moment and change if need be. What we're seeing here is industry, fossil fuels, entrenched businesses are changing the talking points they are putting out via think tanks in order so that these talking points then get repeated over and over in media or in right-wing media, and then it's taken as gospel. Basically, it's a way that think tanks can equip, train, and prepare your average citizen to have a talking point that they can use to deflect any concerns about the climate or any attempts to do something about it. Because they will not be the most impacted. The people that will most be impacted by climate change are people in third world countries that are poor, that don't have FEMA to help them out, that don't have the NOAA to give them a 72 hours ahead notice of an incoming hurricane. It's people living where there's poor access to electricity, water, and road access. So what I'm getting at is that the people that are going to be repeating these talking points and trying to downplay the disruption to our society that we're going to have are the people that aren't going to be impacted by it, but in fact are profiting from the status quo. I'm a big believer that when you hear a message, you should evaluate who is speaking it to try to surmise there might be an ulterior motive. When the fossil fuel industry tells you that climate change will probably be more mild and manageable, whereas pretty much the entirety of the global scientific community is saying the opposite, I know where I'm placing my chips. I know who doesn't have a vested financial interest. Point I'm going to keep insisting on is the global consensus in the scientific community. I'm a physicist and I've worked as an engineer, and I can tell you right now that there is no debate when it comes to the effects that human industry and large-scale activity releasing CO2 and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere is going to have on the climate. No, it's not going to be apocalyptic. No, it's not going to be like Mad Max or the day after tomorrow. But we are going to see mass disruptions due to destabilizing of climate, environments, agriculture, climate disaster, and all the political and social upheaval that's going to come from it. Think about the impact of the wars in Syria and Ukraine and the amount of refugees that caused. It's going to be a lot more of that. And it's going to hit the third world a lot more than the developed nations because they have the least amount of technological and industrial infrastructure to build infrastructure that's more resilient to mitigate, to help populations. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about this interview. I will be putting links in the description. So as always, you should be skeptical about your sources and your data, and that includes me. So please, follow your own sources. I could also be misleading you, or I could be misinformed. Also, one last fun tidbit is that NPR did reach out to the Heritage Foundation asking which climate scientists they had consulted for their report. A Heritage Foundation spokesman replied that they had consulted many scientists and respect their desire to provide this guidance in confidence. So basically anonymous sources or make-believe scientists that they just made up. A quick follow-up because I posted a video about this last week about the room temperature superconductors, and I don't want to say anything definitive yet because I do think it's best to wait to get more data, but at least from what I can see was being reported, it seems like the needle is moving more towards that this is not in fact going to be the industrial revolution that we all might have hoped. But anyway, if you have any questions or comments about climate change, there will probably be a YouTube provided link underneath this video. Check out their sources, and if you have any questions for me, please put so in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself and have a good one. Oh, and please like and subscribe. Bye. My new book is out, Our Universe, A Cosmic Tour, available on Amazon for Kindle and paperback. Please check it out if you'd like to support my work. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Please subscribe.